Yeah. Hey, Joe, what are your initial impressions of all the talent that the team brought in this offseason, now being up, close and personal with a lot of them?
Yeah, very excited. Not only me, the whole entire defensive staff. I feel like, AB, the scouts, I think they did a great job in free agency, great job in the draft, just in terms of bringing in talented players at key positions. So we're excited about the future and can't wait to get a training camp going.
How do you feel like Clowney is going to complement the rest of your defense, particularly, Miles from the other side?
He'll definitely compliment Miles just because, he's been in the league for a long time. He's known as an elite pass rusher. He's very athletic, very fast. I think for offenses, they're going to have to make a choice, who we're going to chip, where we're going to slide the protection to. So I think it'll be a great compliment, and we'll also be able to move those guys around, just try to create some, favorable matchups for ourselves.
Thanks, Jake. Scott Petrick, go ahead.
Hey, Joe. How limited were you last year by whether it's injuries and or personnel? And just how much more do you think you can do, like pull out of your playbook this year because of all the talent that AB added?
Yeah, last year there's a whole lot of things you can say, but we had the mindset of no excuses, no explanations. We were trying to week in, week out, try to find a way to win. So just based on practice time, players available, there were certain things that we weren't able to get to. But now moving forward, we already started the process, in the off season of installing some new defensive packages and some new coverage schemes, just so we can dictate the tempo a little bit more.
I've heard you talk elsewhere about how much dime you wanted to use, and part of that's a 3 safety package. So Is that something you're really looking forward to be able to use with Grant back and the addition of JJ3?
Yes. The dime package was a big part of what I was involved in Wade Phillips' system in Denver. And you're always trying to put yourself in a position where you have favorable matchups. And when we go dime, we're putting more cover guys on the field. We're putting more speed on the field. It probably won't be as much as I ran in Denver, but it will definitely be a lot more, especially on, third down and maybe 2-minute situations.
Thanks.
Thanks, Scott. We'll go to Mary Kay Cabot.
Hey, Coach, I know how excited you were on draft night when you got JOK. And, you're drawing things up on the whiteboard and things like that. So just wondering, now that you've got an opportunity to spend some time with him in OTAs and here in minicamp, what are you seeing in him? How is he coming up the learning curve? And what are some of the possibilities with him?
Things are going well with him. Very smart player, very athletic. You can see the speed, the quickness to change the direction. He'll be able to match up well, against tight ends. The thing we have to be careful of, I have to be careful of, is, you look at him and you want to do a lot. But coming in as a rookie, you don't want to put him in those situations. You want to gradually bring him along. And as he gains experience, understands the defense more and more, then you'll start to expand it. So there's some things drawn on the whiteboard I want to do, but we probably won't get to all of them this year.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mary Kay. Nate Ulrich, you're up.
Hey, Joe, can you take us back to that draft weekend? We got to talk to a lot of people about what it was like to get both Greg Newsom II and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. We didn't get to talk to you. So what was that like for you? What were your reactions? And then how have you seen Newsom kind of fit in here early?
Yeah, the draft is not a perfect science. When guys are coming off the board, you're looking at your different positions and seeing, where you have depth. So when we looked at it in the first round, to my understanding, you looked at the corners and there was more of a drop off where there was some more depth at the linebacker position. But I believe we were considering both players at 26, and it was just better for us to secure the corner position in that first round. And then as the second round got going, I was sitting there. I don't want to say anything because you don't want to jinx it. So I was sitting there looking at it, checking the list, and I see he's still there. And evidently, AB and the guys, they were trying to make a move for him. and we end up moving up a little bit to get him. So it was, to me, it felt like we got 2 first-rounders for sure. And then with Greg, both, Greg and JOK, those guys are very smart players. They're very competitive players. They just bring a different element to the team. I mean, they come out there and they just go hard all the time. They're trying to learn as much football as they can. The versatility, we're playing them at multiple positions to see what they're capable of doing. So it's been good having both of those guys involved.
Thanks, Nate. Dan Lobby has our next question.
Hey, Joe. I wanted to ask about Greg Newsom. I don't think he played inside a whole lot at Northwestern, but is that something he's capable of doing, playing in the slot, if you needed him to do that?
Yeah, so far it looks that way. Again, we don't, during the off seasons when you really want to put guys in those positions to see what they're capable of doing in terms of playing inside, outside. So we expose him to it so he knows the coverages, the techniques we're asking him to play. And when we come back in training camp, we'll see how he progressed and whether keep moving in that direction or just focus on more outside a corner. But right now, I believe he's capable of playing both positions.
And then I wanted to ask you too about Ronnie Harrison, who came in late last year. And it seemed like a lot of, especially early on, you guys were kind of trying to figure him out a little bit. How beneficial is it to have that season under his belt with him and kind of knowing what he's capable of and maybe kind of unlocking what he can be in this defense?
Yeah, it's very, very beneficial to have him here. Last year, you don't really try to change guys at that point. You try to really install the defense, teach them the defense, and let them be themselves because you didn't start the whole offseason process with them. But now, it's kind of like with everything we're doing with players and with the scheme, it's kind of like we pulled it all apart and we're trying to build it from the ground up again. And with Ronnie, I was watching film yesterday. I was like, man, who's that guy in the post? They said, that's Ronnie. But just in terms of what he's done so far, working on his movement skills, bending more in his back pedal, he looks like a different guy, and he has a natural feel when he's in the box. So I think he's set up to have a really good year for us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Tony Grossi, go ahead.
Hey, Joe. Hey, rightly or wrongly, when all the defensive acquisitions were done, the attention turned to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in charge now of this, this extremely talented bunch. And the term, I don't agree with it, but the term hot seat has been used to describe where you're sitting this year. How do you feel about that?
I'll be honest with you. It's the NFL. I've been on the hot seat for 30 years, because every year you get contracts, but, you keep your job based on how your player, your position or your unit performs. So, I was very excited with what we were able to accomplish. It hasn't been done around here for a long time, but, this is a show me game. That's the NFL. And, I had to produce. I'm in charge of the defense, and I'm excited about it. The players, I feel like we acquired. So I'm excited to get going and really hopefully play better defense than we did last year.
All right. The second question is, I understand the desire to get faster on defense. And with that comes lighter. Is there any concern that you've gotten too light and you're susceptible to being gashed on the ground?
I don't think so. I think that, a lot of those questions pertain to, JOK. But when you look around the league, the league is becoming more, you see teams spreading you out, quick throws. It's becoming more matchups in space. And if you look back to, Malcolm Smith was like really the first guy. He came out, he was about 225. You look at Deion Jones down in Atlanta, he was in the 220s. Even we had Quan Alexander in San Francisco, he was in the 220s. But there's more of a premium on speed, but there's enough size where those guys can play physical. And we have to be smart in terms of how we use them as well.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Tony. Back to Mary Kay Cabot.
Hey, Coach, I tried to watch Tack McKinley a fair amount in this mini camp. And of course, when he was first signed, Jadeveon wasn't here yet. And then Tack had to deal with the fact that, Jadeveon, this guy kind of going to bump him out for that starting job, probably. But it looked like he had a great attitude throughout this whole entire camp. It looked like he's working really hard. I saw good interaction between him and Jadeveon. So can you speak to that a little bit, just how he's handled this whole thing?
Yeah, I think with the whole defensive line, I think it's starters in terms of who runs out of the tunnel when they call your name. But for us, we like to put as many defensive linemen out there, and we want to keep guys fresh and just bring waves of body at the offense. So having him, I mean, there's really no apologies. He hasn't come across that way. It's just an opportunity for those guys, to me, to be fresh and to be at their best because they're not out there for 60 or 70 plays in a row. So I think they all understand that and understand that we have to win together as a unit, regardless who's on the field.
Thanks, Mary Kay. We're going to take three more: Marla Ridenour, Nate Ulrich, and Scott Petrick. Marla.
Yeah, Joe, there's a little bit of a perception that because you have so many new guys, it's going to take the defense a while to gel. And, that kind of affects how some people think how successful you're going to be right off the bat. How do you think you can accelerate that, or do you believe that at all?
No, I think it's my job as coordinator, our job as coaches, to teach these guys a scheme, the techniques that we're using, and to rep it. And that's what the off season's for. That's what training camp's for. You're going to have things that you run across adversity throughout the season, but I feel like as long as we can establish our defensive scheme and guys can execute, I feel like it won't be as much of a problem as people may think it will be. But again, there may be, 6 or more starters, but, I'm excited about that just in terms of what we were able to bring in.
Can communication solve most of those, question marks? Just, if these guys get to know each other and are good communicating, can that kind of accelerate the growth?
Yeah, that's part of it. Everything we do on the field, guys have to work together. And that's why having guys here and in practice, that's why it's critical, to have guys that are not here, they're missing that element in terms of, the camaraderie they're building in their position rooms, getting on the field, seeing how each other works. For us, building the different combinations with the right players. So communication is definitely a part of it, and just having guys around each other. You can see the benefits of that already.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marla. Let's go to Scott Petrick, and then we'll close with Nate Ulrich. Scott.
Hey, Joe. Jadeveon Clowney yesterday said the depth and talent on the D-line reminds him of the 49ers team a couple of years ago that you were around. Do you feel the same way?
When I was in San Francisco, we went through the season, so you could see the results of it, because we played 19 games. We haven't played a game yet, and on paper it all looks good, but it's all about what you do between the white lines. So in terms of the comparison, you can see we have ability, but it's all going to be based on how we perform if we're similar to that unit.
I got it. I got you. And then how important is it to have the versatility? I know you can move Jadeveon inside, you can move Miles inside, or Malik outside, the ability to kind of do whatever you want with matchups.
Yeah, we want to be able to affect protections. And, I experienced that with, Vaughn, D. Ware, Shaq Barrett, Bradley Chubb in Denver. And there will be ways where if we know we're getting certain protections, we can work on a couple guys. We can move guys around to create the one-on-ones that we want to create. And I think that's what excites me the most, is really just digging back in to those packages when we are, we have our pass rush unit out there, passing situations and doing what we want to do.
Thanks.
Thanks, Scott. We'll close the session with Nate Ulrich.
Okay.
Hey, Joe, I was wondering about Andrew Billings, obviously, opted out last year when you guys had, signed him and had a role planned for him. With all the guys you've added at D tackle, do you still have big plans for Andrew? And then just being able to watch this minicamp, obviously he looks different than the rest of your D tackles, a different body type. Is he in the kind of shape you want him to be? And how has he come back from that year off in your eyes that way?
Yeah, he's a grown man. I mean, he is strong. I mean, he obviously has size, but he's very strong. I think he was a power lifter in high school. I talked to him. He said he's not as strong as he could be, but he said give him a month and he'll be back to squat 900 pounds. So I don't think he's in the ideal football shape that he wants to be in. And again, that's what you go through OTAs, summer working out and come back in training camp, just to get yourself where you need to be. But he is definitely part of our plans. Definitely first, second down, run stuffer type of player. So I'm excited about him. He has great personality, fits in great with the guys. So yeah, he'll definitely play a role for us this season.
And just real quick, is there anything that stands out about Grant Delpit, Greedy Williams, and their comebacks? Anything you've learned or been especially, impressed about?
Yeah, just to have the talent out there. I mean, you look at those guys; they have size, length, speed. Grant's versatile, but to have those guys out there, we just want to be careful. You get them back out there, you're excited. You don't want to put too much on them. So, training staff had a great plan for those guys. We brought them along slowly, but they were out there. You get excited because you see what you're capable of doing, the packages you can create. So I look forward to getting them back in training camp when I think they'll be full speed.